As a boy, I remember my father coming home every Friday after having stopped at the bank to cash his paycheck, and he would sort the money into different envelopes: food, bills, Christmas, savings, and of course, his tithe. As he tithed, he taught me how to tithe from my allowance. Well, I left the Catholic Church in 1995, but in 2013, my son, who had been attending church with my wife, asked me to take him to church instead. The first Sunday, we went to the Blessed Sacrament. I figured, once a Catholic, always Catholic. And it felt comfortable, but it didn't feel like home. The following week, my son and I arrived here on a Sunday when St. Barnabas was giving out one of those trifold brochures, which had a little blurb about each of its 12 outreach missions inside. I was hooked. That a single congregation could do so much simply floored me. Switching gears, here's a little bit about my financial trials and tribulations. In 2012, my mining business in Canada headed south after one of the officers in our parent company in Europe embezzled over $100 million. I continued to work on the project without pay. God had been very good to us, and we had put away enough to last well over 2 years. I wasn't worried. But as the months rolled by, my savings dwindled, and when our health insurance rose by 400%, we had to give that up. By July 2014, we were down to about 6 months reserve. I began to look for work. It had never taken me longer than 4 weeks to find a job before. Little did I know it would take me over 13 months this time. Eventually, I had to sell my car, jewelry, borrow money from family. Even with that, we got further and further behind on our bills. I stopped paying my mortgage in April 2015. By the beginning of August, we were 4 car payments behind on my wife's car, our only vehicle, although I could still use my son's car. That August, I left the house one morning to come down to do EVMC, and as I hit the driveway, my wife's car was gone. I still went to EVMC. I couldn't bear to go back into the house and see the look of fear and anxiety and pain that I just knew would be on my wife's face. I was at my low point. I had spent my entire life working, and I was a complete and utter failure. I had lost both cars, all of our carefully saved wealth, and my house was just about to be foreclosed on. I tried to never give in to anxiety, but at that moment, I couldn't see a way out. I realized I had become the character George Bailey from It's a Wonderful Life. But it was just a moment. Through the generosity of the church and some very special friends here, I was able to get the car back, and the following month I found a position. We've spent the last year getting our finances back in order, and while I still have a bit of work to do, we'll get there. And through it all, whenever we did receive funds, we continued to tithe. Did I make my pledge amounts in 2014 and 2015? Not hardly. But while I couldn't give enough financially, I tried to give more of my time. You see, I believe in tithing both financially and of ourselves, our time. Now, that's very unrealistic for some of us, but if the church needs me in whatever capacity, and I'm able to do it, my answer is yes. I'm not close to meeting my time goal, but whenever I get lazy, I just think of the favorite saying of Brian Piccolo: God is first, everybody else is second, and I am third, which is really just a modern way of saying what Jesus said regarding the greatest commandment. As we got our finances more in order, not only will my time increase, but so will our tithing percentage. This church, this home I've come to know, does so much. TAEHS, healing prayer, pastoral care, the music program, parish life, welcoming, and of course outreach missions. I try to be relatively active in as many as I can. Recently, we just went through a series of small group dinners during which we wrote a few sentences summing up our experiences at St. Barnabas. At the very end of the evening, our moderator plucked one off of the board and read it out loud. It read simply, "St. Barnabas has saved my life." Enough said. I couldn't have said it better myself. I know that no matter how much I give to the church, I can never give as much as I've gotten. As we enter this holy season, I think back on Christmases past, giving my father a pipe or my mother a bottle of white shoulders, a Lego Star Wars set for my son, or perhaps a Barbie dream house for my daughter, maybe a ring or a bracelet for my wife. Everybody gets a present. Everybody is taken care of. Everybody but one. And he's the reason we're here. He's the reason our lives are so blessed. So let's fill our hearts with what he'd want for a birthday present. Love for one another, generosity of our time, and good fortune for his church, and peace and goodwill towards all. For all are welcome.